Hey everyone, today I want to continue my series of going through the preseason games for teams and kind of talking about some of the things that stand out, whether it's with new players that people are curious how they're developing, second and third year players also curious whether they're developing, and anything that looks new, schematic wise or just generally that a team might be trying to do that they hadn't really noticed in the past. And today I have my list here going through the Baltimore Ravens. Some of these things are very obvious. Talking through Hayden Hurst, if you're in Baltimore and you watch these games, it's apparent he's been throwing the ball a ton, and he's been utilized a lot. And it's more so. I'm going to go through explaining why he's been performing well, the finer points and what he's doing well that's allowing him to, and kind of how the Baltimore Ravens have used him in the blocking game. And then going down the list, the Ravens doing some things offensively to help Flacco because he sucks. Some of the defensive finer points they need to touch up and watch out for come regular season. Saragusa, we drafted last year, kind of higher than I expected them to draft him, and how he's panning out. And then finally, Kamali Correa had a great game, first game of the season or the preseason against the Bears, and it was kind of a breakout performance, but it was against his first game and it was against third string, fourth string players. How he looked against the Rams and where the promise lies with him, but where he still has a long way to go. So let's get into it. All right, we're gonna open up with Hayden Hurst here, and this is the very first play of the game, and it's a completion to him, and it's a great play. But let's go through quickly why. And you're gonna see Hayden Hurst here. He's lined up on the line, his hand down. And let me turn the volume off for you. So, getting off the line, he gets good depth quickly, but right here is the point I want to point out and why he gets open. And tight end is a position in the NFL that takes the longest to develop. You hardly see any rookies really shine. Even Gronkowski didn't start playing well until the very, very end of his rookie year when he put up a 2-touchdown game against, I forget who, it might have been the Steelers, but that didn't come until I don't know, the double digit weeks. But Hayden seems to be developing really well, and this is one of the finer points that shows that and why. Blocking and route concepts are both very complicated, so tight ends have to learn two positions at once, and that's why it takes them so long. Here is a route running concept, and he doesn't blow. So he's actually a lot faster than I expected him to be. He can look speedy in college, and he was great in South Carolina. But that's college, and Max Williams looked great, and he's lumbering and not so good. But this is one thing that separates him from a player like Max Williams. On this route, as he gets in, he doesn't always run by everyone, but he can find a way to get open. And when you talk about a tight end, that's really important because this is right here. Watch right here. So tight ends have to work in tight spaces, and so they have to learn how to get open. Whereas a receiver can have this whole outside boundary here and use their speed and everything else. Hayden Hurst definitely has the speed and the route running knack to get open, but it's being able to adjust to things like this. This is why a player like Evan Ingram is super talented because he can run a 4.4. But in these tight spaces, you didn't see him making as many plays. And it's because you also have to have a good concept for how to get open and the strength to do it. That's something like Jason Witten was good. So when I talk about what he's doing right here, he runs up onto the cover man. I don't know if it's a safety. It's number 41. It's a safety or linebacker, regardless. And he has no yards to work with. But Flacco's obviously, this is pretty much a time. Flacco's getting ready to throw him this ball, so he has to get open. And he only has 2-3 yards to do it. And this is something Jason Witten was really good at, and Gronkowski is really good at, both strong. Running into the defender and then pushing off of them. And it's not really a push off necessarily. I mean, it is, but all the really good tight ends do this in short space. Veterans, that is. They run in and get that little push off. And when you see younger players or tight ends not as good try to do this, what you'll notice is they just get stuck. They'll go into this person and right here just get stuck and can't get off. But the better players, the proper technique and good strength, knowing what to do, can run into this guy and kind of, I mean, it's just a bounce off. That's why it's not called a push off, and can get open. And this move right here, I mean, people might not pay attention to, they just saw him get open. But this is really good. I mean, for a rookie to do in the essentially first preseason game, I guess it's second for him, to already be well ahead enough to be able to demonstrate this move and this kind of strength to get open. I was about to move on from this play, but I actually did just want to show one last fine point of this that I thought was very intriguing. Notice here Hayden Hurst and Crabtree. Watch their depth during the route too. This is something I really like. Hayden Hurst has to get off the line. I mean, not necessarily through traffic, but through traffic, and all out of a stance. Meanwhile, Crabtree's here. Watch their depth. Hayden actually gets up the field. He gets off the line faster, so he has a little bit of head start. And then watch him. They both experience contact throughout the route. Crabtree slightly earlier, Hayden Hurst now, but Hurst gets deeper than him faster, and Crabtree's a wide receiver. Hayden Hurst is a tight end. I mean, look right here. There's 3 yards difference. He's already 3 yards down the field, and when I was breaking down this play, I said, look how quickly he gets off the line. This is what I was talking about. I mean, he's getting deeper than both. He's deeper than both wide receivers. Granted, he's not being pressed, but then he comes in to get pressed and making his break, and he's still 3 yards ahead of both of them. It's very impressive. I just wanted to point that out. And getting off the line quickly for a tight end is crucial, because that's one thing that, like, you know, when they looked at Crockett Gilmore and drafting him and his performance, and Max Williams, is you have to be able to fight through this traffic to get open so a quarterback doesn't get sacked, because he's a safety blanket. So, you know, the quarterback's going to read outside in, or, you know, it's actually, the quarterback's going to read a bunch of different ways depending on the actual scheme of the offense. But at the end of the day, the tight end's a safety blanket or the number one target. Either way, you have to get through the traffic fast enough before the quarterback gets sacked. Like, the tight end route is not, the quarterback scrambles, gets out of the pocket, play breaks down, they get open. They are the either number one route that needs to be open fast, or the last check down that has to get open before the play breaks down. So timing's important, and getting that depth is important, and that speed of that depth and that play I thought was very impressive on his end to point out as well. Alright, this next play for Hayden shows a few things, and here he is right here. They actually line him up in motion over one side, and then they motion him back to the other side. And this is one way he's utilized pretty much this whole preseason, whether they're running a route with him or using a blocker. And so I'll get into the blocking later. He's not going to be a kind of blocker like Nick Boyle, hand in the dirt, stand up and block your man across from you. They use him in, he's a strong guy. He's bowling, but I guess he's faster and shifter than I expected, and a little less strong than expected. Like, he's not a complete tight end, and he will put his hand in the dirt and block someone. Like, he'll do that. So in that regard, he's complete, quote unquote, but he's not really good at it. He's much better at coming across the line, pulling with someone, and reading the right block. He's very smart with making sure he reads the right block. But I'll get into that, and that's important. But here on this play, motion him out. You don't know originally whether it's a run play or block play, but here's another one right here. You know, just an angle route, out and in. This is something like a Zach Ertz this is pretty much all Zach Ertz does, and he's amazing at it. And he doesn't have that. He's not running this route completely properly because he's breaking off his inside foot. If you notice, coming outside and right here, there. So when he put his other foot, this outside foot in right here, he should have cut off that and break in. It's just a more efficient route, and it's less steps to get there. But he obviously does. He's not a wide receiver. He's not someone like the video is yesterday, Devontae Adams, where he can just plant in one motion and completely change direction. He's not a running back, so we'll give him a break on that. But what I do like here is that he's able to use his hands to fight around that linebacker, and he gets open. And so, Zach Ertz can plant his foot in one motion and get open. That's why he's so good. And we didn't draft him to be Zach Ertz. But he's good at this, and he can use his hands to get out. It's very important to be good with your hands as a route runner with a tight end, and he's showing much development in that. And he gets open. And then here's the finer point of this play. Look, he's open. And look early on this play. Flacco is looking over here. Look, he's looking. He's looking over here. And maybe he's looking at, I think this is Smokey Brown down here. Regardless, he's looking in this direction. Look at the position Hayden Hurst has. He's open. This is man coverage. This is not zone. It looks like it might be man cover too, because both safeties are up here. Regardless, this is man, and it's cover two. The safeties are high. He's beating his guy. He's looking at him. What does Flacco do? Oh, yeah, Hurst is open. I won't bother to look. Flacco fucking sucks. He's an idiot. Watching him every Sunday is so painful. Look, Hurst is open. Let's not throw it to him because I'm a fucking idiot. Regardless, this is a great play from Hayden Hurst. Again, another good route, great development, and stuff you're seeing very early that you don't actually normally see from tight ends this early. Alright, this play goes back to some blocking, how they plan to utilize him. You have Hayden Hurst here. This is just like the other play. Again, line him up, throw him in motion. And the Ravens are constantly putting him in motion, whether he lines up with his hand down, stands up, whether he's standing up, running in motion, runs back and forth, or just one way. The reason they do this is to kind of help read the defense. So the first play of the game, with the throw to him, where they line him up, where they put him in motion, they want the teams to establish him as a focal point or as something important. And a match that they need to think about, and once they do that and start then they can start using him in motion. And what this will do is help Flacco out because he's an idiot, and make the defense shift to kind of give away their defensive look. Now this is just preseason, so teams can scheme around that. Teams know they're going to move him in motion a lot and can disguise, but for now, as the offense gets more complex and runs during the season and how they use him, he will be used effectively enough to force defenses to show their hands sometimes. But on this play, they move him in motion to see how the defense reacts to overloading. And then, this is just a run play, so they're not using him to read a defense. This is a run call. But this play is in the block, this is what he's best at from a blocking perspective. And again, he is not going to stand up from a stance against the lineman and just straight up block right ahead of him. He can do it, but he usually doesn't do it amazingly well. He's just half effective. But on a play like this, he's very good because he's got speed and intelligence. So as they pull the guard and they pull him. Now, it's man on man right now, but as you can see, some players get through. Oh, crap. And he has very good idea for understanding what's a threat, what's not a threat, and what to block. And so obviously he knows the guard has this man, but this man breaks free, and so does this guy. So as he's coming across with Alex Collins, he knows they're not his men, so he doesn't peel off. Some blockers will just peel off and seal this off for Alex Collins and let him go. But this play I just thought was so intelligent of him. He just rub blocks both. Look, both players. He makes sure he rubs up against both and then gets in the way of this guy because he just keeps the running line. And it allows him to get downfield so he can block this guy. And then once that block's made, Alex Collins gets another 10 yards just because of his presence. This is such a smart play. This is how you want to see him used. Look, right there. He knows the play. He knows what we're trying to accomplish, and he knows who's blocking what, and he knows he doesn't need to peel off and like stand up and block these guys. Just rub them, get in the way of this guy, cut off the angle, and block this man downfield. And it gets us so many more yards. It's a really good play from a tight end. And this is kind of how he's going to be used, I think, most effectively. I mean, he will, again, stand up on the line, put his hand down, and try to block someone across from him. But he's not very good at that right now. He kind of gets dominated. But in this respect, and in these kinds of runs, he's great. And these are the two plays that there are two run plays Alex Collins runs incredibly well. He runs trap plays well, and he runs these power plays, these pulling plays, where we pull offensive linemen and get him running up the speed because he's a quick guy. He's not a change of direction guy. He's very quick and he can be powerful, and he hits things with explosion and stays on his line. And so Hayden Hurst's talents from a blocking perspective align with the type of runs that Alex Collins is good at, and so that bodes well for us. Alright, moving on from Hayden, there was just two plays that I found curious that I liked the Ravens doing, and this one was one. This was the third down pass to Buck Allen. Buck Allen's here. So two things I like about this play, and because Flacco sucks, we need to do them. Lining Buck Allen out wide, regardless. So what I spoke about in a scene earlier in this is putting players in positions and moving them into motion. And what this does is it forces a defense to kind of show their hand, so to speak, before the play, so that Flacco knows what kind of coverage it's going to be, so he knows how to progress through his reads. So this is a good one, just putting Buck out wide, seeing if the linebacker follows him. If the linebacker does, which he does, this is man coverage. If he doesn't, it's zone coverage, and there's a completely different read he needs to make. He knows it's man as he pulls Buck Allen in. And then I like seeing this as well. What you notice, this is a classic rub route, but it's a little twist. I mean, it's not a twist. I mean, plenty of teams have run it, but instead of running a rub route where this wide receiver run out and this one will run in, they run it with a running back wide receiver combo. And Crabtree's a veteran and savvy route runner, knows how to run this to pick this linebacker right here. So Buck Allen comes out of the backfield and keeps a good line, and Crabtree runs a good rub route, and they run this on third down. So there's three things you just got to really like about the details of this play. One, that Marty Morningweg realizes Flacco's an idiot and needs to help him out as much as he can. And Buck Allen's a good enough receiver to threaten a linebacker to come out with him. The fact that we are developing past an elementary offense where we're running some rub route concepts. I mean, this is stuff like Clemson runs a ton of, and why they're so good, and Deshaun Watson has brought. I mean, they're not the only people brought to the NFL, but this is the kind of stuff that makes them good. And also that we run this on a third down and convert it. We really need to be better at converting third down. If you're a good third down conversion offense in the NFL, you're going to be really effective. And these are classic third down plays that are the most successful in the NFL. The Eagles thrive off of them later in the season when they lost Wentz and they had to make better play calls for Foles because he's not quite as good. And these are types of plays they leaned on. And this is good to see. We're considering to run them. We will be running them in the season, and we convert them on third down. And the other offensive play that intrigued me, this is the play where we converted a long pass to Smokey Brown right here. And the thing just to note is that I like is the alignment. We have four wide receivers, but Notice how Smokey Brown's in the slot and tight on the line, and Hayden Hurst is outside. This is nothing crazy by any means, but it's a designed like lineup to see if the defense will tell what their coverage is, and if it's man and they're trying to match up who they want to match up, they would kind of move their linebacker out here more and their cornerback covering Smokey Brown. And if they don't want to give that away, then Smokey Brown's matched up against a linebacker, and that's exactly what happens. It makes no sense why a defense would, if it's running man, which they are, to keep a linebacker on how scatty Smokey Brown is, and then put a cornerback. I mean, putting a cornerback on Hayden Hurst, I get that. I mean, he's demonstrated some good route running, but they do, and you either tell Joe Flacco exactly the defense you're running, and you line up the right people in the right matchups you want, or you don't, and you get this beautiful matchup here. So something simple, but it's teams like the Chargers have been doing this for a while, and the Ravens don't do it. This is the first time I think I've seen it. You can leave in the comments if I'm completely wrong, but I just like seeing this because it shows that Marty's thinking a little more than I thought he was capable of. Alright, going on to the defense. Now, Tavon Young, people have been talking about. He's right here. Filled about in camp and is apparently doing a pretty good job. I just want to point out, though, that as good as he's been doing, I still think he's a little young. Just needs to clean up the finer points of his game. And this play shows exactly why. I mean, we're running pretty much the same defensive scheme as we did last year. But look pre-snap at this. So Tavon's lined up in coverage and is just staring down the backfield. That's fine. That's not a big deal. All of the cornerbacks are doing it. But I'm going to show you this play and the very next play and show you what he needs to just consider. And, this is just one tip, quote unquote, one fine point, but this can make a big difference. And it's less about only this point and more about how he just needs to he's got to develop more of the finer points of his game. But he's good. He's getting there. So as the play keeps going on, he keeps staring down this backfield. Notice this wide receiver here. He's been observing him for a while as he's been staring down this backfield. Makes a little signal, and then watch him. Tavon's still pointing. Look right here. This wide receiver is looking at him, noticing that Tavon has hardly looked over at him. Look at him point right here. He's pointing, saying, look, Tavon's coming on a blitz. And you can see it clear as day. He's looking straight at Tavon. Tavon's looking straight in the backfield. And Tavon has looked over once or twice, but is mostly just staring in the backfield. And it's actually become so obvious that the wide receiver is calling that out. And, Weddle creeping down a little bit is also giving that away, because we have a safety higher up top over here and Weddle down sitting over this wide receiver. So that's also giving it away. And that probably gives it away to begin with. But Tavon, the fact that he's just staring, this guy is just, it's so obvious. He's pointing it out. And of course, look, as Weddle creeps down and you're a quarterback before the snap, if you see this, Tavon's coming. But Tavon just staring it down, it just gives it away too obvious to the point where I just want to freeze this one more time, staring right at him, just so obvious. Because you might think, well, how do you know that? That's not a big deal, whatever. Let's go to the very next play. So here they are talking about Tavon. The very next play is almost the same exact lineup. But let's see here. The whole pre-play, what is Tavon doing? He doesn't look in the backfield anymore. Why? Because he's in cover. He looks one time, and then look. Now, just complete eyes on the receiver the rest of the time. Just eyes on the receiver. He never even looks in the backfield. And he's in coverage. It's just one of those little differences. But if you're a team, if you're a wide receiver, the way these players and coaches study habits and players and all that, I'm not professional. I'm not even good at this. And I noticed this, and I don't even watch games as closely as these guys do. And it just kind of stood out to me. Because the receiver straight up pointed him out in the previous play, and I was like, I wonder why he's pointing. And you just watch for a second, you're like, geez, you need to get better at that. It's just something that I thought was fascinating. I want to point out. All right, now moving on to Saragusa. He was injured last year, so essentially this is his rookie year, so he get a little pass in that regard. But he's right here. Just some concerns, and he's really good. And when you watch him in this game, at just lining up across against the man across from him, and blocking and kind of running in tandem with like the center tackle and like kind of double teaming and moving to the next level, because he's a powerful guy and he can do that and he can move. But in college too, one thing he was really good at was pulling, like on power plays, like a pulling guard, and he was really good at that. But so far his pass blocking and that he doesn't look very good. Here's just a quick example. Him right here, it's just a pulling play. That's all it is. And this is a pass play because it's play action, but they're run blocking because it's play action. So this could easily be a run play as well. And watch it. He can't get out far enough. He can't get out on NFL speed. He was good at it in college, but right here, this is a higher level of competition, a higher level of athleticism, and he gets up and he just can't get over fast enough. This is a concerning play, and when people ask, is he ready? No, he's not ready to play yet. And then let's go to this very next play. It's pass blocking, but it's another athleticism deficiency, and maybe he's just not recovered from his injury. Maybe he's trying to get back into it from that perspective. But I just wanted to point out in his development, from a technique perspective, I don't know where he's entirely at, but from an athleticism perspective, seeing him at the NFL level, here he is right here. He's actually the first to get off the snap. If you watch that right before I paused it, he was already getting up. First to get out of his snap. And athleticism not there. He just doesn't have the feet yet. Now it doesn't mean that it can't come. This isn't the soundest of technique. He's not moving his feet. Look at when he makes contact. His feet are still planted. He has no good base. His feet are in close, and this is kind of a technique thing. Now, the question is, once he gets the right technique with his feet, which would be a sturdier base, keeping, lighter feet, wider base, being able to move. Because look, he's just in tight, and now he's already beat, and he's lunging at this point. But if he were more squared up and had his base wider, he might be able to make this block. And so the question is this an athleticism problem or a technique problem? And from the play before where he stumbled and just couldn't get to that block fast enough, whereas in college he looked good doing it because the players weren't as fast, athletic. It makes me wonder whether this is not. Granted, definitely change that tech. This is a technique breakdown. That's no question. But once you fix that, is this still a problem? Is athleticism still a problem? All right, finally, Kamale Correa, the pick that I was not thrilled about a few years ago, passing over Miles Jack and Noah Spence in the spots they were drafted because they traded those picks away to get him. But anyways, he has not panned out as well. But one thing we liked him for was his speed and his edge-setting ability against the run. And as much as he hasn't performed great, he did have a breakout game against the Bears in the Hall of Fame game. And this play, again, I just want to show this little series on him to say that why we drafted him, the raw talent is still there. It's just that he hasn't developed to put everything together. And so the question becomes, is it because we moved him inside his first few years in the league? Because when we pushed him inside, he didn't develop the array of he didn't have to work on developing the array of pass rushing ability. or skills or finer techniques because he was playing inside. So now that we finally moved him outside, he's going to develop. Let's just watch this play. He's right here, and he is so fast. That's why we drafted him. It just stands out at you. Look at him just off the line, shoot up. Just watch how much faster he is than everyone. Look at that speed, and already he's 3 yards deeper than Tim Williams already in this, and he is explosive. But then once he gets to this offensive line, he does nothing. So when you see this first step ability and his speed, I mean, look at how much faster he gets down the line than anyone. It's really apparent, and it just flashes at you. I mean, I didn't even know he was on the field when I was watching this play, and this was just so flashy. I was wondering who that was, and it's Correa. But look, he gets this great speed, and then he just has no moves. He hits this guy and just wall, stop, progress, stop. He's got nothing. No technique, no counter move. When you're this fast, you either got to be able to bend around outside or cut it back inside. Have him move to a counter move. He doesn't have that. I mean, Tim Williams is more of a threat on this play, and he gets down. He's 3 yards, like less deep than Correa off the bat. But look, he's got this. He cuts inside. He's got this inside move and good arm length and strength to threaten, and he's so much slower off the line, but he's more of a threat. And this is just one thing. Correa's got these physical tools, but like doesn't have the moves, the counter moves to capitalize on. And I just want to show the next two. So the next two plays, the same guy that's blocking Correa has 2 false starts in a row. And you know, I don't know how apparent his speed stood out to you on the play, but it is obviously it does, but it manifests himself in the fact that, but look, all right, so here's the first, this is the play right after. Same guy who was just blocking Correa. False start. He's that scared of how fast Correa shot out of his stance that it's a false start. Not only is he that scared of it that he false starts once, but the very next play, he false starts again. And when you see this, it's just, I mean, Correa has the raw talent there. Here, let's just watch this guy false start again. Again. Scared of Correa's speed. And when you shoot off the line that quickly, and then you see that an offensive lineman is that scared of him that he false starts twice in a row, I mean, you know the raw talent's there. He hasn't developed yet. And again, I don't know whether it's because he played middle linebacker for the first few years and now he needs to develop this, or if, you know, he genuinely doesn't have what it takes. He doesn't have the strength. Here, I'll show this next play too, because again, he's gonna get another good. He's up here again. This time his hand isn't in the dirt, but he gets another great get off and stoned again. Now, what I want to point out is less about Correa's get off and more, watch this offensive lineman. Look how frantic. He's the first person up on the snap. And look how aggressive his first 2-3 steps are to get back, because he knows how fast he is. So he's already false started twice. And now look at his exaggerated. Look how exaggerated he is kicking so fast to get back in his stance to cover this angle. And the Rams even noticed it. The Rams put a tight end on the outside to help him. He's not blocking at all. He's running a route. He just is forced to. He's there to force Correa wide because of how fast he exploded out of stance. And look at how exaggerated that offensive lineman's first step is. Again, these are all signals. If you didn't notice how fast he was coming out of his stance, all these telltale signs are he is absolutely a threat on the outside and has the talent to do it. But then he just doesn't. Look, he gets to the lineman again and nothing. He's stoned again. And also look at this guard. This guard knows that he was scared about this matchup. This guard's blocking someone, yet he's still looking over to see if Correa cuts inside if he needs to help. All signs that he has the tools and he's really a threat, but just hasn't put it together yet. And I mean, look, when this guy sets that hard, when someone sets that hard, I mean, that's like the foundation for his move. I mean, he should be able to capitalize coming inside, and he never bothers to come inside. Now, the only thing I don't know is if the play's design, if the coaches have told him, look, just go inside, because the Ravens are really good at inside pressure. So, I want one thing you might say is, oh, well, they just want him to force the quarterback to step up into the inside pass rush, so they don't want him to improvise inside. But Tim Williams here does move inside and doesn't care. So that tells me that that's not the case. Correa just hasn't developed yet. And Tim Williams affects this play. He's having an amazing preseason. But look, again, Tim Williams isn't as fast by any means. But one thing he does right there, one hand longer than the other, and a strong base, and just throws this man away. You don't see that from Correa. Correa is engaging with two hands. He's not using the one arm's longer than two, and he's trying to do some sort of swim move. But if you notice, or not swim move, but a rip move, where he dips slightly underneath his arms here and rips this arm under like this, and then pulls himself around. He's trying to do that. If you notice, his hands don't even disengage from the blocker, and this is just poor technique. So I just wanted to point out, Correa had such a good Hall of Fame game. These 4 plays in a row on the edge looks so explosive. It's why the Ravens drafted him, because it stands out on film. I mean, you can't deny that raw athleticism. But my God, develop some technique, please, because he could be good, but he doesn't have the base strength to round the edges and be able to push linemen in certain positions, and he doesn't have a counter move. If he develops that, he might be able to be something good. As always, thank you for watching this episode, and if you like my content and haven't yet, please subscribe to the channel. I plan to be releasing videos as often as I possibly can, because ultimately I want to make a career out of this, whether it be self-supporting through YouTube videos like this, or something else happens, I get picked up somewhere along the way. And if you like my videos and want to support me financially to continue to do this as often as I possibly can, my Patreon account's up to the top right. And if there's anything that you want me to do a video of, or explain, or answer, just leave in the comment section, and I will be sure to get a video out as soon as I can on that. And I just want to again thank you so much for your support, and moving forward, hopefully this can become a good thing.